What would you do if a text you never meant to send landed on the one phone almost nobody on Earth has? And the reply didn't just feed your baby, it dragged you into a war inside a billion-dollar company and forced you to choose who you really are when no one's clapping. I'm not asking for clicks. I'm telling you my life, the part I still can't quite believe happened. It started on a night that tasted like metal. The power company had already decided Mercy wasn't in the budget, so the apartment was dark on purpose. I sat on the kitchen floor with a baby blanket around my shoulders, like it could hold me together, listening to my son cry in the bedroom and trying to make my hands stop shaking. His name is Noah. He didn't understand why the bottle was mostly water again. I understood too well. The empty formula can on the counter didn't refill just because I stared at it. I don't like asking for help, but pride doesn't feed a baby. I typed with a thumb that felt like it weighed 10 pounds. Ben, I'm sorry to bother you again. I need $50 for formula. Noah's almost out. I get paid Friday. I'll pay you back, please. Sent. I didn't double-check the number. Couldn't. If you've ever begged while trying to sound casual, you know exactly why. I pressed my forehead to my knees and tried not to listen to the clock inside my chest. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. I think you meant to send that to someone else. I went cold so fast I felt dizzy. Wrong number. The pit of the stomach kind. I typed back, I'm so sorry. Wrong number, please ignore, and locked the screen like I could lock away the humiliation. Buzz. Is your baby going to be okay? Not a link. Not a scam. Just a sentence that cut straight through the armor. We'll manage, I wrote, because mothers say that even when they shouldn't. Sorry again. Another buzz. I can help. No strings. I actually laughed a sound that didn't match the room. Thanks, but I don't take money from strangers. Smart policy, the stranger replied. I'm Jackson now. I'm not a stranger. I didn't answer. I rocked. Noah hummed a song I made up on the spot, lied to him and to myself that mom's got it, then did the thing I swore I wouldn't. I sent my Venmo. If it were you, what would you have done? 3 seconds. That's how long it took for the notification to light up my whole kitchen. $5,000 received from Jackson Albright. I froze. Opened the app. Closed it. Opened it again. 5,000. I typed so fast I misspelled thank you. This is too much. I only needed 50. He replied, it's already yours. No catch. One less thing to worry about. I didn't cry when I got laid off. I didn't cry when the repo truck towed my car and the driver wouldn't look me in the eye. I didn't even cry when Noah's father said he wasn't ready and disappeared like smoke. But that night, alone in the dark with a phone that suddenly felt heavy with mercy, I cried. Then I noticed something that made my skin prickle. He wrote Noah's name. I hadn't told him. How did he know? Before I could spiral, a new message came through. You don't have to say anything. Just take care of Noah. The certainty in that line scared me almost as much as it steadied me. I didn't sleep. Even after Noah relaxed into those soft little puffs that reset your soul, I sat on the mattress edge and stared at the number like it might evaporate. People don't send thousands to strangers. Not in my world. I finally typed. You didn't have to do that. He said, I know I didn't. I wanted to. Why would you help someone like me? I wrote. You don't even know me. There was a pause long enough for me to imagine the worst. Then, because once upon a time someone helped me when they didn't have to. I haven't forgotten. Not pity, he added when I bristled. Recognition. Morning brought a knock I never get. My landlord texts. My neighbors pretend I'm air. I open the door to a delivery driver next to 4 boxes. Signature, he said, bored. Inside was everything babies should have as a given. Formula diapers, wipes, bottles, tiny clothes that still smelled like a store's idea of clean. At the bottom, an envelope. He should have what he needs. Noah deserves better than barely getting by. Jackson. No logo, no return address. Just that name again like a key in a lock. I typed it into a search bar. Because sure, I wanted to believe, but I also wanted receipts. Jackson Albright. Helix Core Industries. Net worth that looks like a typo. Former military. Widower. The press calls him media shy, which is rich because shy isn't the word for a man with 3 official photos and eyes like doors that don't open. So why me? Why this? Why are you really doing this? I wrote. 10 minutes. 20. Nothing. Then. Because I know what it's like to lose someone you can't save, and because no child should feel that kind of pain. I had to sit down before my knees made that decision for me. Some sentences move furniture inside you. That one did. Do you work? He asked. I used to, I said. Biochem Diagnostics plus, I'm annoyingly good at audits. Then the company folded the daycare I could afford, shut down, and surviving became my full-time job. I also scrub floors, make lattes, and handle taxes I can't afford to pay. No violins in reply. Just an address, a time. Come to Helix Core tomorrow at 11. Ask for Ava. No strings, just a conversation. The lobby wasn't gold and marble. It was quiet and efficient, like the building knew its job, and did it without bragging. The receptionist smiled in a way that made me feel seen and unsettled at the same time. The elevator opened before I pressed anything. 37th floor. Ava Lynn. Chief of Staff met me with a tablet and the exact kind of presence you want in a crisis. This feels like a setup for a punchline, I told her. Mr. Albright doesn't do punchlines, she said. He does precision. She unlocked a door, and I forgot how to breathe. Not a conference room, a nursery, a crib, a changing table, blackout curtains, a rug that felt like clouds if clouds cleaned themselves. Not expensive for the sake of it, thoughtful in a way that keeps you from crying, because if you start, you might not stop. Why I asked a hand over my mouth like a dam. Because he knows what it feels like to walk in alone, she said. When Jackson walked in, he looked like his photos, and not like them at all. Tall, yes. Composed, mostly. Expensive, obviously. But there was stubble and something in his eyes that said sleep wasn't about hours anymore. Mira, he said, like my name already lived in his chest. Thanks for coming. I wasn't sure I should, I told him. You came anyway. That's what matters. He sat forearms on the table and got right to it. Before anything, you owe me nothing. This isn't a test. I don't believe in charity, but I do believe in investing in people. Why me? I asked. Because you didn't ask for a shortcut, and you would go without before your kid did. Someone like that I trust with anything. He slid a folder across. 3-month temp, audit support, flexible hours, on-site or remote. Pay that made me swallow twice. Real. Also real, he said when I looked up. I took it. On day 1, I wore the only business casual I hadn't sold for rent. Noah rode in a soft gray sling that said, we had a plan, even if the plan was mostly vibes. My desk faced a glass partition into the nursery. I logged into systems I hadn't touched in a year and felt an old part of me stretch and yawn. Baselines, reconciling vendors, approvals, the music of anomalies. You know when you remember you're good at something and your posture changes? That. He showed up in my doorway, around hour 2 sleeves, rolled black shirt, looking less like a CEO and more like a soldier pretending to be one. "May I?" he asked. "It's your company," I said. He glanced at Noah through the glass, then back to my screen. "Third quarter reconciliations," I said. "Someone's rounding where rounding doesn't belong, or someone's hiding under the noise." "Already," he said. "Not well hidden yet," I said, then caught myself. "Anything feel off?" he asked. "I don't do surface level," I said. "Neither do I," he answered and left. A private message pinged an hour later. "Keep this between us. If something looks wrong, bring it to me directly. Not even Ava." Understood. That's when I understood him too. He suspected something. He just couldn't risk saying it out loud without proof. Isolation recognizes isolation. You know what I mean? By Friday, I had a pattern. Not a smoking gun, those are for movies, but a precise, boring trail. The same vendor repeating just under internal thresholds. 1 200 here, 2 400 there. Tied to project codes that didn't exist. Money routed to a Delaware holding company with a pretty name and no fingerprints legal on paper, invisible in practice. Someone inside Helix was siphoning slow enough to be ignored, steady enough to matter. He didn't look surprised when I showed him. He looked like a man who didn't want to be right. "I've watched the numbers drift since last year," he said, "but no one would chase it. Too subtle." "Why not hire a firm?" I asked. "Because I don't know who to trust." The quiet in his office was loud after that. "Here's your pattern interrupt, and your twist." I found the device ID that approved those payments. Not the users. The device. The same machine ghosting different logins, borrowing real employees' credentials like costumes. That's why the audits missed it. On paper, everything checked. In reality, it was a magic trick with your wallet. Stick around, because what happened next will blow your mind. He slid me a folder with a headshot inside. Mid-40s. Neutral smile. Suit that said, "I'm very good at this game." "Vincent Harmon," he said. "Our CFO. Hired 2 years ago after the last one resigned quietly. He streamlined compliance, moved oversight, removed cross-checks, gave his team exclusive access. No one blinked because he said the word efficiency like a prayer." "You think it's him?" I asked. "I know it is," he said. "Proving it is the work." Enter Keller, former FBI forensic accountant, with a voice like a clean cut. She wanted timestamps, device logs, approvals, backup trails. She also wanted me off-site. He put me and Noah in a quiet apartment owned by a shell stocked like a hotel with better towels. Extreme, I know. But if you've never seen corporate knives, trust me, they're sharp. We baited a hook. A fake HR memo about upcoming audit reviews for executive vendor contracts uploaded where Vincent's assistant had access. Within 2 hours, ping, accessed 3 times. Twice from his team, once from his own login. He knew the hook was in the water, and he bit anyway because arrogance. And then he moved first. He filed an ethics complaint accusing Jackson of diverting funds into personal accounts to bribe an external hire. Me. That's the move. Accuse before you're accused, weaponize the board, isolate the witness. Do you think that's fair or just effective because people believe the first loud thing they hear? We went public with precision. Helix released a tight statement, investigating high-level misconduct, forensic irregularities. External validation triggered a full audit. No names. Meanwhile, Keller hand-delivered a 38-page packet to the state attorney's office. Logs, approvals, shell structures, the kind of evidence that makes even expensive lawyers breathe differently. And the next morning, Vincent walked into a conference room where Jackson was waiting. No handshake. I watched from one floor up on an internal feed, palms sweating hard, doing double time. "Appreciate you making time," Jackson said. "I always make time for the boss," Vincent said, smile sharp. "I've noticed oddities," Jackson said. "Streamlining is messy," Vincent offered. "Streamlining is a word," Jackson said. "There's a vendor Trinox, facilities security both, and somehow research and legal too, which is odd for a company no one can contact." "I'll have my team look," Vincent said. "You are your team," Jackson said. "You approved the first payments." Vincent laughed, the laugh of a man who thinks he's 3 moves ahead. "You've been listening to your new pet accountant," he said, then looked straight into the camera like he could see me there. Late nights, spreadsheets, baby bottles, my hands curled into fists. "You're done," Jackson said, calm as winter. "No." "You're done," Vincent said, standing, placing a flash drive on the table like a weapon. Emails, messages, shadows that look like mismanagement. "The board's tired of your grief and your secret projects. Resign by Friday. I won't drag her name through the mud. Everyone wins. In a lot of stories, this is the part where the hero blinks. We didn't blink." Ava stepped in cool as Sunday morning. "Security will escort Mr. Harmon out. His badge is deactivated." For the first time, his face cracked. Not a lot. Just enough to see the person underneath the performance. He left. By lunch, the board had suspended his oversight, and Keller's packet had a case number. By late afternoon, Jackson found me in the nursery. Noah reached for him like it was the most regular thing in the world, and he picked him up like it was. "Take tomorrow off," he told me. "Then come back the next day and build something we can't bypass. Not even me." Head of Internal Audit. Full autonomy. Build your own team. I looked at the city through the glass, and then at my son gripping a toy giraffe like a sword. I said yes. The weeks after were a quiet kind of holy. Frameworks, controls, device-level attestations, triple audits, boring on purpose. Dry is where corruption dies. One senior board member stopped me in the hallway and said, "You did your job so well it made the rest of us look sloppy." "I wasn't trying to look good," I said. "I was trying to keep my kids safe." He nodded like he'd learned something the hard way. One night, when the office lights dimmed on a timer, and I didn't notice a message came to the private account Jackson set up just for us. No subject, just a screenshot of my first text. "Ben, I'm sorry to bother you again." And his reply, "I think you meant to send that to someone else." He titled it, "The Accident That Wasn't." "Thought you'd want to keep this," he wrote, "so you never forget what it took to find your way here." "You still think it wasn't an accident," I typed. "I think the universe is better at hiring people than HR," he wrote back. I laughed real and loud in an empty office and let myself believe that not every door is locked just because some of them were. He asked to be in our lives, not as a savior, not as a headline, not as a boss, as himself. I told him to ask me in person. A minute later, my doorbell rang. "Yeah, that happened. Now I want to ask you something straight. If it were you in that kitchen, would you have sent your Venmo or waited for Friday and watered the formula again? Would you have walked into that building, stayed when the knives came out? Do you think it's charity if it builds a path you can walk on by yourself? Or is charity still charity even when it ends with a job and a new life? Be honest. Do you think that's fair? Here's the piece I didn't tell the blogs. That first night when he typed Noah's name, he heard me whisper it when I answered the phone and set it down. Simple, not creepy. But when you've been burned, warmth feels suspicious. Healing is letting warmth in and not flinching. That's work I'm still doing. I won't pretend every wrong number becomes a second chance. That's a pretty lie. What I will say is this: dignity and survival don't have to be enemies if people with power build systems that don't force you to beg to feed your child. Don't just clap for the miracle. Ask why it felt like a miracle in the first place. You know what I mean. If you made it this far, thank you. Truly. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from and what you would have done at midnight in that dark kitchen. Would you have taken the money? Would you have gone to the meeting? If you disagree with me, argue respectfully. Charity or investment, fate or fight, which one was it? Hit, like if this gave you something real to feel or think about. Share it with someone who needs proof that one brave yes can snowball into a life you recognize. And if you want more messy, human, true stories, told straight, subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss the next chapter. Your voice matters here. Tell me what you would have done.